Hello everybody, family and friends, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. To those of you who don't know me, my name is Brett, 46 years old, and I live in a place called Strand, which is situated in the Helderberg in Cape Town, South Africa. My wife and I are both in our second year theological studies to become qualified pastors, and we are also the founders of a non-profit organization called Trinity Transformation Centre. Today, I would like to talk to you about our organization, but also about, I'm going to give you our story, which is going to get very personal. And I'm praying that this story is going to land on the right people's ears, and that we'll be able to unite in eradicating or doing our bit to solve a very serious problem in every community that I can think about. The problem that I'm talking about here is homelessness. Doesn't matter what community you look at around the world, you always find homeless people, people on the streets that don't have a place of their own or a place to call home. So let me give you a little bit about our story, the personal story. So back in 2019, I was a branch manager of a company here in Cape Town. It's a company, I'd started the branch back in March 2014, and I ran the business for almost 6 years, up until December 2019. But back in October, my wife and I had been attending a church in our area, and we got very involved in the church. So we started serving on the teams that they have that serve the people that come into church, and we started getting involved in facilitating upliftment courses. So I would do the upliftment course for the men, and my wife would do the upliftment course for the women. And by getting involved in all of these different areas within the church community, we encountered very many different walks of life, met a lot of people, heard a lot of stories, literally people from one end of the scale to the other, from people with nothing to people with everything. But so that was quite an exciting time. So one of the sets of people that we came into contact with a lot are the homeless. So, for example, there was some guys coming to the church, and they were also getting involved in serving on various different teams within the church, and were attending these upliftment courses, and they were from the local night shelter. So I recognized quite quickly that these weren't just normal homeless people. They were actually looking for better. They didn't want to just accept their circumstances and just, okay, well, now they're homeless and that's that. They were putting in an effort, and they were getting involved, and they were trying to get better for their lives. So in any case, one of the chaps, and this is no dig at any first phase night shelter at all. I mean, we're working in collaboration with them, and we think they're amazing. They're also just trying to do what they can do to solve the problem. But the issue with the first phase shelter, or the restraints with the first phase shelter, is that government is quite heavily involved there. They dictate the rules and regulations, in the sense that, when a new person comes into a shelter, they can come in for a 3-month period, and when the 3-month period is at its end, and maybe they're not up on their feet yet, you can extend for another 3 months. So it's a total of 6 months. But once those 6 months are done, whether the person's up on their feet or not, whether they reintegrated back into society or not, they have to leave the shelter. So this one chap that I was speaking with in particular, people on the street had started planning around this. So those of you that know Cape Town in winter is very cold and wet and rainy. And in summer is very hot and stunning weather. So they were actually planning around this, in the sense that they would try and get into the shelter in the winter months when it was cold and wet and rainy. And then when they were told to leave, it was the summer months, and they were quite happy just to go back to the streets. So my wife and I realized that here's a gap here. We're looking for better than the guys going to a shelter and then going back to the streets. Now, I don't for a second know what the statistics are for the first phase shelters in their success rate in reintegrating people. I don't know. But in this specific case, for this person, and from the information he was giving us, a lot of the people on the streets, and he knew this was their plan, going to the shelter in winter and then back on the streets in summer. So we decided, we wanted to get involved, and we wanted to do something where we would actually maybe start a shelter, like a second phase shelter, for those people that really wanted a difference in their lives. Because in all honesty, I also know of people on the streets that don't want better for their lives. They are quite happy living on the streets. They are quite happy standing at the robot with their board and begging for money. We have, on occasions, we have stopped and offered these people jobs, which on their board says any job or donation, that's what they're looking for. And they literally turn the job down because, according to them, they make more money standing on the streets than what they do working a normal job. So I get that you have these people that actually don't want the help. They claim they want the help, but in actual fact, all they're looking for is a handout. But on the flip side of that coin, there are really people that do want to change for their lives. They do want better for their lives. They don't want to be on the streets. They're not there because they've chosen to be there. They're there because of circumstances in their lives. So these are the people who really wanted to reach out and help. So this one chap, he was in that scenario where his time had come up at the first phase shelter, and he was now back on the streets. And with the fact that I'd gotten to know him quite personally at our church, I wasn't happy with this chap just going back out to the street. So I'd spoken to my wife, and we decided that we were going to open up our doors and let this chap come in and stay with us. And we would do what we could to try and encourage him and uplift him and counsel him and help him get back onto the right track, and then obviously reintegrate back into society at a later stage. So we did this. That was in October 2019. The first chap came to live with us. A month later, we had our second person come and live with us. Our third person came just before lockdown hit in 2020. Then we got another one in lockdown, and basically from October 2019 to date, in fact up to very recently, we were 10 people in total under our roof, and this is just a normal 3-bedroom house. So we were helping quite a number of people in our home. We went and bought triple bunks and put them in the rooms, and so people could have a place to stay and be part of the family, and a plate of food, and we could counsel them and encourage them and get them involved in our connect groups and our Bible study groups, etc. But any case, in December 2019, and this is where the story starts to get a bit personal and the roller coaster ride starts to be up and down and all over the show. But in December 2019, the company that I was working for decided that they were going to close down the Cape Town branch and retrench all the staff. So that was a little bit of a spanner in the works, because that stability and security and salary that I had was now gone. So at the time, I didn't see it as a very major problem, because one of my clients that I've been dealing with for years had been approaching me very many times and wanting to go into business with me. So when the retrenchment came along, I actually approached this client and I said to them, look, the company's closing. I know there's financial difficulties. We could probably broker a deal. If you can bring a financer along, we can broker a deal to buy all the equipment at quite a good rate. And then we could just register our own business and continue with the business under our own name. I mean, the business was already established. The clients were already there. We'd been operating for almost 6 years. So it was literally a question of coming up with the capital to buy the equipment and then continue, which is exactly what we did. But like I say, this took place over December when everything and everyone's closed. So me and this partner, we decided, well, we weren't going to worry. We were going to get the business up and going. He brought the financer. They bought the equipment like very quickly. And we were going to get the business up and running and then worry about all the paperwork and the contracts and stuff in the new year. So anyways, in a very, very short period of time, once they had the equipment on the financer's name and they got my client base from my head office up in Joburg, they literally pushed me out of my own company. Said, well, we can't afford you. We don't need you anymore. Cheers, there you go. They had everything they wanted from me, all the business that I'd built up over the last 6 years, all the equipment that I had. They had everything that we had built up over 6 years, and they pushed me out. So, but on the same token, I also want to say, as bad as that sounds, prior to that, my wife and I had been praying for a very long time that we wanted to be in full-time ministry. So when the company I worked for decided to retrench us, and when this business deal went south and I was pushed out of my own business, I didn't view it as entirely a bad thing, because what did we be praying for? We'd be praying for full-time ministry. And that's exactly what we got. So we cannot want to cry and be all upset when things appear to be going wrong, but in actual fact, it's answered your prayer. So we've been asking for full-time ministry. Well, how do we expect God to open up a door if we're not prepared to let Him close a door? So the business door got closed twice within a matter of a month, and we were then catapulted into full-time ministry. So that's fine. My wife and I were watching a sermon from Michael Todd, and it was on we got our vision from this. It was about what you needed in order to, for a ministry to work. And it was the 5 V's that to be. Anyways, that doesn't matter. But we got this vision of starting an actual shelter. So now you must know, hard lockdown had hit. Thankfully, we had the retrenchment package that I got from the company that closed down to try and carry us through a lockdown. We had a very big decision to make at that time, because once lockdown had hit and we were retrenched and we only had a limited amount of funds, we had to decide, were we going to downscale and take those funds and try and make it last to look after me and my family for as long as the lockdown lasted, or were we going to continue with our vision and our calling in looking after the people that we already had living with us in our home? So we decided we were not going to let our surroundings affect our thoughts and our actions. We weren't going to start panicking and kick everybody out and then just look after the family. We decided that this was a calling given to us by God. Both me and my wife had the same calling, and we were going to continue with this calling and just put our faith and our trust in God that He would provide for this calling. So that's what we did. Once we had our vision and our calling, we decided to register a non-profit organization so that we could try and get assistance and funding and support in looking after the people that we were looking after. And this is also where a little miracle comes in. So anybody who's registered a non-profit organization before will know that it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Well, it was in April, it was a Sunday evening. My wife filled out all the necessary documentation online and submitted it to the Department of Social Development. And literally by that Wednesday, so within 3 days, we had our approved registration, which in itself was a miracle because we'd never heard of that ever happening before. So in any case, we continued doing what we were doing. We had the retrenchment package, we could pay rent and water and lights, and we could put food on the table. So everything was okay. But as we all know, funds are also only going to last so long. So by the middle of last year, by end of June, by July, we had run out of funds. And I'll never forget, I approached our landlord and I actually said to him, look, I need to give you the opportunity to redecide whether you want us as tenants in your home or not. Because when I applied to come and rent here from you, I had a very good job, I had a very good salary, I had security and stability, and everything was good, and it was a win-win both for the landlord as well as for me. And at that time, he gave us this property at an exceptional rate, which is also unheard of. So the favor that was there already, I can only say, was from above. So we rented the place. But I said to him, now I don't have that security, I don't have that stability, I don't have a job. Both me and my wife are unemployed, we are in full-time ministry, we've started a shelter, and I don't know when and if and when I can pay you the rent that I used to pay you religiously every month. Well, I'll never forget the owner's response. He said to me, firstly, he's very glad that he has us as tenants. He said that secondly, whether we pay our rent or not doesn't determine whether he eats or not. So he said to me, you know what, if and when you can pay, but if you can't, please don't lose any sleep over it. Carry on doing what you're doing. So that type of grace and mercy and favor is unheard of. I mean, where do you hear of a landlord telling you, look, if you can't pay rent, don't stress about it? I've never heard of that in my life before. So this, again, we just had to give all glory to God. He was clearly looking after us. So that enabled us to continue doing what we were doing, continue looking after the people we were looking after. We had an interview on CCFM with Jonathan Haler on the story of hope, where we told people who we were and what we were doing, so that people could climb on board and rally behind us and support us and try and help us look after the people that we were looking after. And I mean, that was great in the sense we actually did get a couple of individuals who from time to time would pitch up to our home with some groceries and stuff to try and help feed the people. But we didn't really get the type of feedback or the support that we were looking for, especially like from businesses and companies that could help us with this organization and with our vision in looking after the homeless. So, but again, God's grace kicks in, because I can honestly tell you that from the time we started this in October 2019 up until this very day, we have never once gone to bed hungry. There's always been a plate of food to put in the belly every single day. So God has looked after us. But we also decided that, once the money's running out and we need to make a plan, we weren't getting the support that we were looking for. So we decided that we didn't want to be one of those organizations that constantly had their hands out, asking for money. So we decided we were going to start income generating projects, things that we could do to generate an income that would help us be self-sustainable, that would help us pay the rent, help us pay the water and lights, help us put food on the table, and help us to continue looking after the people that we were looking after. Like I say, and up until recently, we had up to 10 people under our roof. So we started 3 projects. The first project we started, and we have to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Nashua. They are an amazing office automation company. So we approached a couple of companies to sponsor us an A3, A4 multifunctional printer. And Nashua very quickly climbed on board, and they've sponsored us a machine. So what that enabled us to do is that we could start a very small scale printing and binding business where, we offer the printing at very good rates because we've got the machine sponsored, so we don't have rental to pay on the machine. So our rates are very, very good. I mean, I'm pretty sure better than most printing stores that you can walk into. And we bought a little binder so we could bind the manuals and stuff, the booklets that we print and so on. Being homeschooling parents ourselves, we targeted the homeschooling community in that we gave them even better rates than our already very good cheap rates, so that we could print their materials and their manuals that they needed for the year. Now, look, we don't only cater for them, we cater for anybody, and our rates for everybody is very, very, very good. So please check that out. But the homeschooling community is fantastic in January and February, because then everybody needs their manuals and material printed for the year. But they print for the entire year. So once January and February is done, the printing work, especially from the homeschooling community, really is a little trickle. It comes in drips and drabs. It's not, because I must say January, February, we actually turned over quite a decent income from the printing business. But that has slowed down. So we really are looking to get our name out there for other people to start using us for printing as well, especially with the rates that we offer, because we need more consistent business throughout the year. But that was the one project we started. The second project we started was what we call Trinity Scents. So we found a supplier to supply us with both male and female fragrances, perfume bottles, and then we would label them with our own label, Trinity Scents, with the fragrance that it was, or that it was inspired by. And then we would resell this, and then the proceeds would go towards the costs of looking after the people in the home as well. But in all honesty, that project has been very, very slow. And then the third thing we started was also from our interview on CCFM and people getting to hear about us. They would bring us secondhand clothes and books, which we could then take to markets on Saturdays and try and sell, and then also the income generated from that we could use, put towards the cost of looking after the people. Obviously, during hard lockdown, we couldn't do that at all because of lockdown, and then as the lockdown rules and regulations relaxed a bit, we could do that. But again, the income generated from all 3 of the projects that we've implemented has not been anywhere near what we've needed to try and cover just our normal basic expenses like rent, water and lights and food. Never mind anything else. For example, we lost our car in lockdown as well because of not working, not earning an income, and unable to pay the car installment. So we've lost that. But I'm not even talking about those. I'm just talking about the basic expenses that we've got in running this home and in looking after the people that we're looking after. The 3 projects were not generating the income that we needed for that. And I think that is, although the idea was good, it is largely because of the season that we're in, having come through this pandemic, having come through COVID-19, and people are still today very fearful to be out and about. Some people are out and about, but there's a lot of people that are still within their homes, and I think also a lot of people are maybe spending a lot less because of the uncertainty of everything that's going on around them. So, like I say, although the projects were a good idea, they haven't achieved what we were looking for them to achieve. We have now, and this is also where the roller coaster gets up and down heavily, but we have now hit a situation where the landlord that was so graceful towards us regarding the rent, he is suffering with dementia, and his family have had to put him in a care facility that look after people suffering with dementia. And that care is expensive. So the family is no longer able to offer us the grace that the landlord gave us, and they've given us notice to move out of the place where we're living. Now we've got until the end of this month to get out, which is in a couple of days. That's not very long. Not only that, but they've also done market research and realized that the rent that they can get for this place is even more than double what we were paying. So they've given us notice, asked us to leave so that they can rent the place out and then use that money for the care for the landlord in the dementia home. So, I mean, I do not hold that against them. It didn't come from a place of malice and, oh, get out and we don't like you or anything like that. It's literally, I mean, I've got to understand the situation that they're in too. They've got this expense now of the care, and they need to cover that expense, and so they need the rent of this place to cover that. And our prayers as individuals, me and my wife as individuals, and us as an organization, our prayers are really going out to the family that are dealing with this difficult time in having their husband and dad suffer with this condition. So we are really just praying for them, and that God's peace and understanding will be on them and help them through this difficult time. Anyways, long of the short of it is, we've got until the end of the month, and we've got to get out of this place. Now, with my wife and I having been in this full-time ministry since December 2019, to date, neither of us are gainfully employed, and neither of us are earning a salary where we can even go and look for another property and say, well, this is what I'm earning and I can pay you your rent. We don't have that. We've literally been relying on the grace of God for this last year during lockdown to carry us through, which is done. And like I say, we don't have pay sheets and all of that sort of stuff. So here's what we are looking at. I mean, we've worked out, even just for a place like what we are living in now, to cover the rent and the water and lights, never mind food, just to cover the rent and the water and lights, we're probably looking at about 15,000 Rand a month. Now, if 300 people were to sign up and commit to sponsoring 50 Rand a month, what's 50 Rand a month? It's when you go to the shops to go and buy bread and milk, you spend more than 50 Rand. So 50 Rand a month is not a large amount of money. But if 300 people signed up to sponsor that 50 Rand a month, every month, for the foreseeable future, or for as long as they can, that covers that expense. We can then, worry further with the projects that we're doing to try and generate enough income to at least feed the people that we're looking after. So it's not, like I said in the beginning of this video, it's not like we're looking for one or two people that are millionaires that can come and say, look, here's a large sum of money for us to help put behind your cause. I mean, this is literally every single household in the Helderberg area, or not just in the Helderberg area, but we are situated in the Helderberg area. But if every single household in the Helderberg area were to give a 50 Rand, or, I mean, there's thousands of houses, so never mind 50 Rand, a 10 Rand. If every single household in the Helderberg were to give a 10 Rand a month towards our cause, not only would we be able to cover the costs, but we'd be able to get much larger premises so that we would be able to help even more people than what we currently are helping. Then we can start making a difference on getting the people off the street. Now, here's where it's going to get a little bit personal for some of you out there. I've on a number of occasions seen people within the Helderberg complaining about the homeless people and complaining about the way they make the place look untidy and dirty and the streets not looking good. And I agree with you. It's not a very nice picture, but it is a problem that every community has. My wife will climb onto posts like that and ask those people, what are you doing to help the problem, to alleviate the problem? Are you taking anybody into your home? No, they're not. Then she'll put out information, well, this is who we are, this is what we do. We have a number of people living in our home, not even in a center, in our home with me, my wife, and our children, because we're trying to do something to alleviate this problem. So I understand that this is not a calling for everybody. I mean, no, in all honesty, it's not the most ideal situation or the most pleasant thing to have people in your personal space living under your roof. I mean, having a center somewhere and you living somewhere and then going to that center in the day and returning home after work, that's one thing. But having the people in your space, under your roof with you, that's a completely different thing. And it's not ideal. It's not pleasant all the time. But we believe we were just being obedient to what we were being told to do, and we're trying to do our bit to uplift the community. So we continue doing what we do. But like I'm saying, if every household within the Helderberg gave a small donation, we could actually buy bigger premises, an actual center, and start helping these people. Like I say, people are very quick to complain about the problem, but people are not very quick to get behind the problem, to support the problem, to donate to the problem, to sponsor the problem, to give time to the problem. Then the wheels come off. So here's the thing, people. Like I said earlier, it's not going to take one person. It's not going to take just the government. It's going to take all of us. If you guys are all willing to climb behind us, to climb behind our cause, and to help us, we don't mind doing the work. We can do the work, and that's why we're in full-time ministry. But we cannot do this on our own anymore. We've literally come to a point where I have personally exhausted every single cent that I had, every cent from my retrenchment package, every cent while I was unemployed and we were under lockdown and we could claim unemployment fund. Every cent that I got from unemployment fund, I put back into the center. So I've exhausted every option I have. Like I say, right down to the point where I no longer have a vehicle. We've lost that. And now we're busy losing our home. If people are not going to get behind us and support us, not only is Trinity Transformation Centre going to shut its doors down, but me, my wife, and our family who have been doing this for the last year and a half, we're going to become part of the problem. We're going to be part of the statistics of the people on the street because we just cannot get any support from anyone. Here's another thing. Here is our organizational structure, because we also, like I said earlier, we don't want to be an organization that's constantly sitting with our hands out asking for money all the time. We are looking at things that we can do to actively generate incomes for us to self-sustain. And we're also looking at what can we give back to the companies that are willing to support us. So here's what our structure is. Here's what we're looking at doing. Now, and this is now in the planning phases. We haven't I haven't approached any companies as yet, but I'm going to put my thoughts out there. And perhaps there's even business people that are listening to this message that like the strategy that I'm going to discuss with you now, that'll want to climb on board, and then please get hold of us so that we can link up and we can do something together. But what we've also thought of doing is this. So we're bringing people into our home who are homeless. Okay. Initially, our rules and regulations state that a person has to be clean when they come into our premises, and that's in particular because I've got my children living with me. Like I say, we don't have a center. So I can't essentially have people that are coming off the streets that are testing positive for tip and drugs or that are drunkards coming and living in my home, because what about my children? Those were initially our rules. Now I must say, even in this year, from January to now, we have broken those rules on 2 occasions. We've taken 2 people into our homes that have tested positive for drugs, but that's people that we've known from our church, and it's people that we've believed have been sent to us by God himself or from the Holy Spirit, whoever that's needed our help, and we've been obedient to that. We haven't stuck to the rules, and we've climbed in and done what we can to help these people. But here's essentially what's going to happen. When the people come in off the street, there's a certain time period where they would need to be isolated, so that if they are recovering from anything, alcohol or narcotic substances or whatever, there's a certain detox period and a period that they've got to get over these sort of substance abuses and so on. So there's like a lockdown period, let's call it that. Thereafter, we are looking at partnering up with companies where they need labor, they need staff, and we've got people. So what we would do is we would say to the companies, and it would be places like ShopRite or Pick and Pay or Spar or Food Lovers Market, very basic entry-level type of jobs, where we could say, right, let us bring our people. They can come and pack shelves or pack your your storeroom where you store your foods and stuff, or unpack it for you, or like I say, entry level basic jobs. What we And that would be as an internship, right? Let's call it a 6-month internship where you're not obligated to pay that person. This will be an internship, and the reason for that internship is this: we are wanting to teach these people new habits. So rather than just being happy with being on the street or with the substance abuse or what have you, we want to teach them the responsibility of getting up every morning and having the responsibility of going to work every day, completing your day's work and coming home. The fact that they're not getting paid in that internship is neither here nor there. This is all about teaching them the skills that they need, teaching them the responsibility that they need in order to make their life successful going forward. Then, while the person is interning at the company is welcome to make a contribution to the organization in lieu of the costs that it costs to take care of them, to house them, and to feed them, and to keep the water and lights on for them, etc. They're welcome to make a contribution to the organization. But it's also not a must. It's not like we're going to hold it to you and now you've got to contribute. We are, at that time, that 6-month phase, we are more interested in developing the new habits for the people. Okay. So now they do a 6-month internship with you. Once 6 months is up, you then as the company can then decide whether this person has actually showed potential, they've showed promise, and you actually wouldn't mind taking them on into your business. Maybe you've identified some of their strengths in an area that you could fit them into your business, and be it in the admin side, be it in the distribution side, it doesn't matter where. If you identify an area and this person shows promise and you can actually see them fitting in there, you can then employ them. When you employ them, they will then be responsible for paying their fees, which are very minimal, but they do have fees, which is also there to teach them responsibility and having to pay. Like one day when they're out on their own, they're going to have to pay rent, they're going to have to pay water and lights, they're going to have to pay food, everything that we pay on a normal month, they're going to have to pay. So for now, we start off by them paying the shelter fees. That'll be for the next 6 months. So for a year's period, they've done a 6-month internship and they've done a 6-month employment where they are paying their fees. We are actually hoping that we will be able to get a premises at some point in time where not only do we have the shelter on the premises, but we have other dwellings on the property. So maybe out on a farm or something, I don't know, but other dwellings, so that once the person has completed their year's that year's period, they can then move into like a dwelling, communal type dwelling with other people from the center that have also completed their 1-year period, where they will then be responsible for, paying fees, paying water and lights, paying food, where they're going to have more responsibility on them, where they, like I said, they're basically operating in a communal dwelling, and they've got all the responsibilities and pressures on them that we have in everyday normal life, not just shelter fees. So, and then that can be for a period of a year. So we're looking at walking a journey with a person for a period of about 2 years, maximum 2 years. Once that 2-year period is up, that person will then leave that dwelling type, that dwelling, to reintegrate back into society, to go and be on their own. They're self-sustainable, they're working, they are earning an income, and they will go and work on their own. But the journey with us is not done. Now that they've completed the 2-year period, those people would then become like an AA sponsor for alcoholics. They would then become a sponsor for a new intake in the shelter. So they would be able to come alongside the new intake and say, right, you know what, I've walked this walk, I've done this journey, I've been where you're going. Let me take your hand and help you through this journey. And they would then, like I say, become a type of a sponsor towards a new intake. And if they feel it on them to also contribute financially towards the center, well, they're welcome to do that, but that's also not a requirement. It's more the emotional support and sponsorship of the new intake that we're looking them to then do once they've left the center. So that is our organizational structure which we are wanting to put in place. Have a 6-month internship. Companies, because I know you do get some companies that insist, look, they want to pay the person even when they're on an internship. Well, what we would then do is we would ask you whatever donation you want to make towards our organization, you do that. And whatever the balance is, we can actually set up an account and you can put that money into that account for that person. That when it gets to a point where they are going to leave and go on their own, or they are in that dwelling type environment after their first year, they've actually got a little nest egg of theirs saved up that they can use to put down as a deposit on a place when they actually leave the center, or get the furniture that they need, or whatever the case is. So I'm not saying that the company may not pay the person a salary while they're on an internship. I'm just saying that it's not necessary. We're not looking for that salary. We're looking at teaching them the habits and giving them the responsibilities and giving you staff in return for your support of our organization. So that's what that's all about. And hopefully that way, with that structure, we can make a way more positive effect on reintegrating people back into society, that they don't just come to a shelter and then leave and go back to the streets, but that we're getting them where they need to go. From our side, and what we're also looking at raising funds for, is that, you know what, if one of our house guests or clients, or whatever you want to call them, decide, you know what, I'd actually like to become a bookkeeper. Well, you know what, let's enroll them in a course to study bookkeeping. Or, so, you know, somebody wants to go into a trade, they want to go into welding or carpentry or what have you. They need tools and stuff to be able to do that. If we can also get the tools that are needed for the center, that we can teach people trades and stuff, or have people come in and teach them a trade, you know, give them some skills, something that they can use, that when they go from here, or even while they're still here, they can approach companies and say, right, I've got this qualification, or I've got this trade skill, this is what I can do, can I, you know, and look for an employment. So yeah, we're all about equipping the people that we have with us, that, like I say, when they leave, they're not going to the streets, but they're actually gaining skills, and they're going to be able to get going feeling good. So that is our main mission and vision. Obviously, we also want to, like I say, minister to them. It's not just there's a lot of needs that they've got. They've got physical needs, they've got emotional needs, they've got their spiritual needs. And we need to look at uplifting and counseling all of those needs, which is where my wife and I come in with our various connect groups and Bible studies and so on. So that mentorship is there as well. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, I mean, never mind just the households. Do you know how many businesses are in the Helderberg area? If each business just decided to sponsor 50 Rand a month, that would help us to achieve what we are looking at achieving. And at the end of the day, it's going to make a difference on our streets and how our streets look. You know, so that we can actually get the people off there, get them equipped, get them skilled, and get them back into society the way we all should be. So people, basically at the end of the day, I'm appealing to everybody watching this video. I'm appealing to individuals. You know what, if this story has touched you in any way, if this is a vision that you also have, or a cause that you feel passionate about, or if you also don't like seeing people out in the streets, and you've always wondered what you can do to help and assist, but you've never known what to do, here's what you do. Even if it's 5 Rand a month that you can contribute towards the cause, towards organizations, and not just our organization, there are others out there too, but towards an organization that is doing something to try and combat the problem, do that. Find out which organizations you have in your area and support those organizations. Trust me, it's not an easy task. And I mean, even just from what we've had, 10 people living under our roof, to feed 10 people in a day, it is insane. You know, I'll give you small, stupid little things. A big tin of coffee for 10 people in a house in a day. That tin lasts 3 to 4 days. Now I can just imagine, like the first phase shelter that we've got in our area, they are much bigger than us. I think they house probably about 40 people a day. So I can just imagine what their expenses are like. But in any case, individuals can climb behind the organizations that are in the areas. Find out who they are, support them. If it's a 5 Rand, it's a 5 Rand. Like I'm saying, if every single person in the area is giving a 5 Rand, that's a lot of 5 Rands. That organization can get the premises they need. They can get the equipment that they need. They can get the skills, you know, the stuff that they need to teach people skills. They can get that equipment that they need. And it can really make a difference. So individuals can help. Businesses can help, yes, by donating. I mean, we need funds to take care of expenses, but businesses can get involved, like I say, even in our organizational structure, and having people come and work for you, you getting staff, and get involved that way as well. So I'm appealing to individuals, I'm appealing to businesses. And here's the other thing. I know through the season we've come through with the pandemic and with COVID-19, like I mentioned earlier in the video, a lot of people have been affected very badly. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of businesses have closed their doors. So I get that there is a lot of strain out there, and that is obviously, I think, a large portion of the reason why we haven't received the support that we're looking for. But here's something that you can do. Even if you honestly do not have the funds that needed, even being an extra £5, to contribute towards our cause, that is okay. I understand. Not all of us are in a position to help. Here's what you can do to help our cause. Like and share this video. Your sharing this video might bring this video on the correct person's ears, might put this video on a person's ears to hear that is able to help. So if you don't have anything to give, please don't feel bad. Not everybody does. But then please like and share this video. If we can like and share TikTok videos and all sorts of other junk on social media, please, you can like and share this video as well to try and help us make a difference and to try and help keep our organization in business in looking after the homeless people that we're looking after. And like I say, on a personal level, if we do not get the support that we need, Trinity Transformation Centre is literally going to shut down, and me and my family are going to then become a part of those statistics, because we are, as of the end of this month, we are homeless. Here's a last appeal. Any people that have properties that feel like this cause is something that touches their heart as well, you may have a property that is ideal for this type of a setup, for a center, an old building, or whatever the case might be. Like I say, we are needing somewhere to go as of the end of this month. So if you have property and it's not something that you're using, and it is not something that you're depending on for an income, and you are able to support our cause and our organization with that building, be it an agreement that we use the building, and when we start getting support and we start getting income that we can start paying rent on that building, that's fine. Just understand that right now, in the beginning, while we don't have support and we don't have funding, we literally can't pay rent. So it's literally going to be a case of that this cause is something that means something to you, and you feel it upon your heart to do something about this cause and to help our organization in fighting homelessness. But we can build a relationship going forward, and like I say, down the line, pay the rent or buy the building from you, or whatever the case may be. But we are really needing help from absolutely everybody out there, individuals and businesses. I hope that this video has opened up your eyes a bit to the homelessness problem and to what we can all do about it to try and combat it and to try and fight it, to try and make our communities a better place. And again, I'm just asking for the people's support, whether you're in the Helderberg or outside the Helderberg or outside of South Africa. It doesn't matter if you're in another country. If you are able to assist and you're able to help and you want to help our organization, please feel free. You guys can go to our website, which is www.trinitycentre. So it's TRINITY, and centre is spelled CENTRE, not TER. So Trinity Centre with TRE.co.za. On our website, you'll find our email addresses, you'll find our contact numbers. There is every method that you can think of to donate or to sponsor or to give on our website. So our banking details are there. We're a registered organization. Our banking details in the name of Trinity Transformation Centre are there that you can make an EFT into. We have card facilities, so you don't have to come in and swipe your card. You can put your details in online and authorize the payment and the amount and what have you, and then you can pay via card. And we even have snap scans. So we really have looked at every different type of payment method, to make it easy for all of you to climb behind our cause and to help us and to make that donation without physically having to jump in your car and come and see us. You're all welcome to come and see us, and come and see what we do, and come and see the operation, and come and see the people that we help. We welcome visitors, but you don't have to climb in your car and come down here in order to be able to contribute to what we're doing. So go and check us out on our website. We also have a Facebook page which is under Trinity Transformation Centre, so you can go and check us out there. And yeah, like I say, please don't forget to like and share this video so that we can spread the word